Hey,
Yes,
let's get
sir.
it. Talking Nets Kingdom.
Yes,
I know you
sir.
see the boy down there, AJ down there.
Yeah.
Rage, he hiding down there, but he repping that NK.
Yeah, no, we're here. We're here. We're here.
Yeah. The kingdom is here. The kingdom is here. We're blessed.
All right, I gotta mute the YouTube. That's what you heard in the background. My YouTube coming in because I chill in the YouTube chat as Talking Nets,
Got
so
to
I
keep
can
the band
reply.
hammer ready.
So
Oh
I can hit
yeah.
up Cook Carter and Will Simmons
Interact with the
and
chat.
Rico,
Yeah.
Jared Williams, the whole gang out here. You already know that. Nets World. Okay, folks.
Interact.
So this is our second crossover pod during the All-Star break. We're not going to talk too much about the lame-ass All-Star game, but we'll hit it again. We already talked about it with Adam Armbrecht and Locked On Nets this week, but we've got enough to talk about with the Brooklyn Nets, and we're going to look into the second half and the Nets returning, Jacques Vaughn's extension, the Ben Simmons saga, what are we doing with Cam Thomas, and just the outlook as the Nets are going to have an uphill battle with these next few games against playoff teams. So let's get right into it. Alex, hit the music.
We're doing that Brooklyn Nets talk right here on Talkin' Nets. Brooklyn, we go hard, go hard. Talkin' Nets. Hosted by Keith McPherson, Robin Lundberg, and Hudson Flynn.
Yes, sir. Welcome back to Talking Nets Kingdom.
Yes, sir.
Gang.
Back.
I'm not going to say too much because I already said what I had to say. Let's bring in AJ and then Rage. Say what's up, AJ. Then Rage, you say what's up.
I'm just blessed to be here, man, with my brother Keith. The Nets world. The Nets world is built, as you say. The Nets world is built, and we're here to stay. So good to see you guys in Hudson. I'm good to see you, man.
Good to see y'all, man. It's nice to be here. Excited for this cool little thing we got going on.
Yeah.
Hudson Flynn, how you doing today?
Man, I'm doing well. It's always a good time to have the All-Star break crossover episodes. We've been doing this a couple years running now, and it's always been good to see how the Nets world has been built and how the community's growing. I know we talked a lot before we went on air about how the community has grown and how there was such a hole and a lack of Nets content, just 4 years ago, but now there's a whole creator environment within and around the Nets. And while we may not always agree, it's always good to have that serious community that, a great NBA franchise deserves.
Yeah, before we went live, we were talking about, 2019 coming off the 2018-2019 season. The Nets get gentlemen swept out of the first round by the Sixers, but that felt like a good year. That felt like a good time. I know there's a lot of fans that, weren't really running with the Nets at that time, but that was what attracted KD, Kyrie to the Nets, the superstars to the Nets. And that's what really, I think, kicked off a lot of the Nets content. When I came into the game, I wasn't even confident in making a Nets podcast, especially looking at the landscape in New York, how big the Yankees fans are, the Knicks fans, the Giants fans. I'm just like, I don't know if this community is going to be built. The Nets world has been built. And I'm a big fan of these guys. I was quietly watching Nets Kingdom videos, like not even saying anything in the chat for, I think, 2 years now, going back to when Harden was on the team. So I appreciate these guys. Shout out to Saint. He can't be here. And Chubbs as well. And what's the other dude's name?
Julian.
Yo, Shout out to everybody in Nets Kingdom. And appreciate you guys doing what you do. You guys got merch. And you just consistently hit Twitter and Instagram with updates, and we need that. And I'm glad to see that, you guys didn't delete the account after KD and Kyrie left. So let's get right into it. Are we over it?
No.
RIP the Big Three 7-Eleven era in Brooklyn. Alex, you can just run through some of those first screenshots that I threw in the notes of Harden, Kyrie, what KD had to say. I was watching Nets Kingdom right after. You could throw Kyrie back up there, or we'll start with Harden. It don't matter. But I was watching Nets Kingdom, and I think it was after the Kyrie trade, and they were giving Kyrie love on his way out, and I was like, "Fuck all that." But I understand it. So
we were toxic, bro. Like I wanted to celebrate him for a little bit because I was like, he did what he did, and then half of the other guys were like, man, get about, good riddance.
Nah, the way that
Same was like, man, good
the way that it ended, the way that he blew everything up, that's why I say fuck all that. That's why I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not celebrating this guy because he hit the detonate button in the middle of the season. But all right, let's run through these screenshots and then we'll go around the horn. So speaking of, the detonate button, Kevin Durant had some time. He had some time to think about what he was gonna say before he met the media in Phoenix. And thank God ESPN sent Nick Friedel out there. That's a bonus, right? They're taking the national spotlight off of us. Our game Friday got flexed. Nobody wants to watch the Nets. Well, at least we got rid of that chaos merchant. So KD, he said, I feel like I'm always going to be a New Yorker through and through. Nah, KD, you from Maryland, but your boy Ace, Rich Kleiman, he's a New Yorker all the way through. KD also said some stuff about, trades being made. And he said, when a player can dictate where he wants to go and leave in free agency or demand a trade, it's just part of the game now. So I don't think it's a bad thing. It's bringing more and more excitement to the game. Yeah, all right. Yeah, all right. Sounds good now, Slim.
Yeah.
Sounds good now. What else we got? Go back to that Harden one if you can. Go back to the Harden one. So, after Harden was here, he said, fast forward to date, I don't look like the crazy one. You do look like the crazy one. I saw you quit in Sacramento, bro. You do look like the crazy one, but we understand. These guys hated Sean Marks, Joe Tsai. They hated the Brooklyn Nets organization. There's a lot of finger pointing going around, and it's over. What else we got? We got
not from Rich Kleiman, though, right? I don't know if you saw, but Rich Kleiman, he put a lot of respect and love on Joe Tsai's name.
He was like, I love Joe Tsai. He's a great man.
Yeah, and what does KD's camp have negative to say about Joe Tsai for real? Because they respected his trade request. They could have made him play out his contract. They could have kept him on the team, and they did right by him. And I think that just kind of points to that it's the fact that it's kind of a goofy take for people to say that, KD leaving shows that no superstar will ever go to Brooklyn because they don't know how to handle it. There's a lot of respect between those two camps, and I think that's a good sign going forward.
Speaks values when we traded KD to the one destination that he wanted to go to, and we didn't listen to anybody else. Don't matter what other offers were on the table. We just took the one that we were given by his destination that he wanted to go to.
Yeah. And me personally, like I said, if I'm trying to get over the whole KD thing, man, I'm not going to take too much stock into what Rich Kleiman's saying because I know he's an agent, and agents have to. Man. Yeah, it's a business, so you don't want to mess up that other. You want to talk bad about an owner and then have that fall back on you later on. So I just feel like he's doing the right thing of bigging up Joe Tsai and saying, "Oh, I love this guy, he's great." So not too
basically. Kyrie went personal. KD went business, right? You always hear the phrase, it's business, it's not personal. And that's never really true. But at the end of the day, they did business and they did right by KD and honored his trade request and sent him where he wanted to go. Throw up that Kyrie pick one more time just to burn the Kyrie stands. Ooh.
They're not liking this, bro. They're not liking this.
They are not liking this. They're unsubscribing right now. They are out of here. So
let me ask you though, Keith, bro. How did you? Well, which side were you on? Because we know Kyrie wanted his money, and Joe Tsai didn't want to give him his money. So I guess there were some people who were like, "Oh, good riddance," and then there were some people who were like, "Okay, we'll pay him. We want a chip. Just give him."
We were following this, obviously, doing 2-3 pods a week. We were following Kyrie's trying to get an extension.
Yeah.
Mrs. Irving, his agent, Shatila, something like that.
Yeah.
She's trying to get an extension. They're trying to have conversations. Oh, the Nets aren't really in a rush to have these conversations. Kyrie is playing masterful. Kyrie is leading the team. He's killing it in the fourth quarter. He's playing his way into an extension. But the whole time we were thinking, not till the end of the season. They have no reason to extend him in the middle of the season. Yeah. And then, boom, he said, all right, y'all don't want to give me my money. I'm tired of being tolerated. I'm tired of not being unconditionally loved, right? You're supposed to just sweep under the rug all the nonsense, all the headaches, all the negative energy I brought in, and you're supposed to pay me just for what I do on the court. and not worry about my off the court stuff. Nobody sees my work ethic, whatever, bro. I had a show that night and I didn't want to even talk about it. I'm like, I'm so disappointed that this dude decided to put his business, his money, his future in front of the entire team. You're making 37 million this year. You're already rich.
That's
Like,
a good point.
you
Good
gotta
point.
blow up this team right now. This is a team that went 18-2 in a 20-game stretch. This is a team that had a 12-game win streak. We're trying to survive without KD. Ew. Why would you do this right now?
It's particularly embarrassing too, because he made such a big point of saying, well, this is my hometown team. Duke University by way of West Orange, New Jersey, all of that stuff, acting like, it's supposed to be team over self.
Yeah.
And he never followed through on that. And putting aside all of the other things that you might not like Kyrie about, anti-Semitism, the way he, interacts with the media, X, Y to Z, you have to look at the fact that he barely played half the games that he was available to play in. And for Kyrie, more so than James Harden, more so than Kevin Durant, that was his choice. There were some injuries, of course, but he made calls. He made the call not to get vaccinated. That was his choice. He made the call to go to that birthday party. That was his choice. And ultimately, when he decided, okay, I'm out, he made that choice to go. And it's clear that not even in the same sense that KD always says, playing basketball is the most important thing. Kyrie Irving was trying to get paid a max 4-year contract for only playing half the games. And that's at a certain point, you have to look at that as a business person as stealing money.
Yeah, I would say from my point of view, I was on the side of I wanted to, like I said, I'll do anything to bring a championship to my city of Brooklyn. I'll do anything. So I was on the side of I'll deal with the bad of Kyrie just to get the chip and maybe pay him and trade him later. But the trade request took me as a shock. I was shocked. I didn't expect it. But I'll give you this. When I saw the reaction from KD and Kyrie, like when I saw the reaction from Kyrie after he left, it made me like him a little bit less more like, whoa, bro, why are you kind of saying stuff like this about us? Like, I thought this was like Hudson was saying, I thought this was Jersey. Like, I thought this was home. And he just kind of like shoved us to the side and really give us, I know you don't like Joe Tsai or Sean Marks, but the way he kind of didn't say goodbye. Well, he did say goodbye to the fans, but it just didn't seem
was
right.
weak. It wasn't genuine.
Yeah, it just didn't seem genuine,
I just think that, I do see his side kind of, but at the end of the day, you miss half of your games, making all these demands. We aren't really winning anything. There are games where he doesn't show up and he's demanding all of this stuff when we haven't won anything. Plus, he probably would have got that contract have you finish out this year and you win this stuff. But nope, you decide to request a trade in the middle of all of this when we could have gotten better and could have won a championship. He didn't see anything through. We were never really to see a full season with him. Always something, but yet he wants a max contract like anyone else is going to give him that.
Yeah, to me, it's just Kyrie's always moving the goalposts. It's always something different, right? It's always like it's always like a different narrative. Now it's talking about making the best business decision for me and my family. You're not going to like every employer. You opted in. What are you talking about, bro? Like, you're the one saying you wanted to be here. We chanted in the arena, Kyrie's home. Like, you're the one that played into the whole, I want to be on the floor for the Nets. He's the one that said, I have family and friends that y'all don't know how hard they go for the Nets, how hard they root for the Nets. And you're going to sabotage the Nets season because they didn't extend you mid-season.
And then talk bad about them.
Yeah, and then talk bad about them on your way out. It's just
burn the bridge on your way out. And that's a trend, right? Fool me once, fool me twice. We're on 3 times now. He burns his bridges. And, that's just a reality of who he is. Just in the same way that the reality of, Kevin Durant is that he's a ring chaser. Let people be who they are, right? Take them for their face value.
All right, flash that graphic you put up, Alex, the blue one, about the big 3, and we'll move on. 16 games together. They were 13-3 when you think of the biggest what-ifs in league history. That 3-player trio, to me, takes the cake for sure. So, yeah, it's over. We got to all move on. And as Nets fans, I think we actually built up the fan base, the attention, the arena, obviously the podcasters and content creators off the backs of these 3 superstars. And this will be a stain on their careers more than the Nets organization, because the Nets aren't without any, players. It's not like the Nets are left the way they were left after Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett. Like, we got a little squad and we got a coach. Now, let's move on to the All-Star game quickly, right? Our guy, Nets Head, he's part of the Brooklyn Brigade. I always call him Nets Head, but his Twitter is Hoops Head. Shout out to Hoops Head 81 for this tweet that he put out. Flash that tweet when you get to it. It's a screenshot under no Nets represented. He said, I think Nets World is the only team not represented at the All-Star weekend. The NBA had 2 shots to make this right by inviting Cam to the Rising Stars game, and especially after 3 40-point performances by him. And then he goes on to say they could have invited Utah to the 3-point contest. It's inexcusable not to have a team represented. And in my opinion, I agree with that, because the Brooklyn Nets are not the New Jersey Nets, the lowly Nets that lose a bunch of games and don't have any attention. They have the most attention in the league, especially coming off of the trade deadline. Cam Thomas, I honestly think, messed up any opportunity to get pushed into that game after his post-game comments where he should have just said pause. And then Utah, what's his name? Chandler, that's on Run It Back with Eddie Gonzalez. Chandler Parsons. He campaigned as a hater against Utah for weeks. And so they weren't going to put Utah in. Instead, they put Julius Randle in. The NBA All-Star game sucked, in my opinion. I only watched the replays of the skills competition, the dunk competition, the 3-point competition. We talked about it on the last episode. But the last thing I want to add on it is the ratings. The ratings came out today. And Front Office Sports reports that the 2023 NBA All-Star game drew only 4.59 million viewers, making it the least watched edition of the game ever. That's on record, bro. They the low before that I read was 6 million. So what do you guys think about the fact that the Nets were not represented in Utah, which that's another thing. I said this on the radio. The NBA is bugging out. How do you go from Cleveland to Utah to Indiana as your 3 cities in a row for the All-Star game? Nobody wants to go there.
Nobody want to go to Utah. Yeah, as an NBA fan, I was very, very, very disappointed in the NBA All-Star weekend. Like I said, I love watching ball, and the game itself was just so hard to we love the flashy dunks but the no defense. Usually, the last couple All-Star games were somewhat competitive. They do this system where you got to whoever scores the most in the quarter, and then the fourth quarter they kind of go hard. The fourth quarter, usually guys are playing a little bit of defense, and it's competitive, a close game, but this whole game, the only bright spot of it was when Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown went one-on-one for a couple possessions. This is why I think they should put a one-on-one tournament in the All-Star weekend, but they probably won't. But the whole weekend was just not good. Cam should have been in Rising Stars. Utah is getting overlooked. We all know it as necessary. He got snubbed. But again, I was just disappointed.
Yeah, it's just not a good product, right? Yeah. At this point, you have to look at the reality of it. And the dunk contest, I will say, Mac McClung put on a show. That was awesome. That was a good dunk contest, independent of the fact that he doesn't have, really any sort of superstar notoriety other than one of the most ridiculous high school mixtapes anyone's ever seen. Other than that, independent of all that, it was a great showing from him at the dunk contest. But no, the NBA, and I think it's pretty obvious to say, fumbled this All-Star weekend. And it's not inexcusable or the incorrect choice for the Nets to not have anyone in the actual All-Star game. They had 2 All-Stars and then they got traded. So I can't blame the NBA for that, obviously. And I agree with Keith. Cam kind of blew his shot there. I think Utah being in the 3-point contest would have been nice. But at the end of the day, I guess he didn't qualify because he didn't have the minimum shots taken to actually be the NBA 3-point leader. And same with KCP. As well.
They put Julius Randle in there?
Yeah, Julius Randle. Julius Randle is shooting
33%.
Yeah, this is a bad call independent of it, but that's unrelated to the fact that Utah didn't get the call. There were, if you're shooting 33%, I think the league average is 38. He's a league below average 3-point shooter, so you can't do that. But they put Karl Malone on a pedestal.
Oh my God, that was
certified criminal, pedophile.
Yeah,
I don't have enough negative words about Karl Malone. I could go through the whole dictionary.
This whole thing was an L.
The NBA blew it, and it's rare that I say that because I believe thoroughly that Adam Silver is the best commissioner in all of sports. But he blew it. The NBA blew it, and they're gonna have to do a lot of work to make Indiana work as an All-Star game because that's not Los Angeles. That's not Miami. That's not, a target, a place that anyone even really wants to go. And when you're looking at stars, seeing how lackluster this All-Star weekend was, you're going to start seeing something we see in a lot of other sports where stars just don't show up. They just take their fine and move on. They don't go to the All-Star weekend. And then the NBA is going to have a real problem if that's what happens.
Yeah, and what Keith mentioned about where everything's been taking place, like Cleveland, Utah, and the words of Joakim Noah, who said they want to go to Cleveland on vacation? Who was going to Utah on vacation? I've never heard. Hey, where do you want to go to vacation? I want to go to Utah.
Skiing.
I want to go to Utah.
I've never been on no skis in my life, so I never seen Utah.
God.
Last words on it, and I saw Ramon jumped in the chat with what I was going to say before I said it.
Oh, yeah.
They booed Kyrie and they applauded Karl Malone.
That was just toxic. I couldn't believe it. When I saw that, I'm like, what?
They clapped for their own guy who played for the Jazz, but now NBA fans look at Kyrie as a team killer, as a team cancer, as the Grim Reaper wherever he goes. So they boo him. They're like, this guy has forced his way out and ruined teams. Boo. But the guy that had a child at age 20 by a 13-year-old 40 years ago. Yeah, the mailman.
Also, I mean, not worse, but also super creepy to Vanessa Bryant when he was old as hell.
Yeah, you guys heard about that story?
Yeah. I don't even want to.
He shows up in LA wearing a Cowboys hat. Young Vanessa Bryant says, "Hey, cowboy, what you hunting?" Harmless, just making conversation with an NBA legend. And he goes, "I'm hunting little Mexican girls."
Oh my God, this nasty work. They put this man on the jumbotron. They put this man Karl Malone on the jumbotron, bro. Come on.
And he doubled down on it. He's like, whatever. He's like, that's my life. I've dealt with it. Like, it's not a big deal. And like, I don't like. He basically said, I don't care. Whatever people got to say. The NBA took an L by putting him on a platform, and then like bringing this. I don't even know if I said that word right. Platform. Pedestal. Put the two words together. A platform and a pedestal. A platestool. They put Karl Malone on a platestool, and then they brought this story back to the foreground, back to headlines. Like nobody was thinking about this until they did that. So let's move on. The NBA All-Star Game in 2025 will be in LA at the house that Kobe built. I will see you there. But I'm not going to Indiana next year. That's for damn sure. All right, breaking news. But not really. It broke yesterday. Congratulations to our coach. We're not getting Ime Udoka. Jacques Vaughn is extended through 2026, 2027. Hooray. I think he deserves it. I think he represents the team well. I'm rooting for everybody black. And I love to see Jacques Vaughn get some respect put on his name for being a former Net, being a basketball lifer, a good coach who has dealt with all of the nonsense this season, from them firing Nash to Kyrie's anti-Semitic stuff to Kyrie requesting a trade to KD getting hurt and then following Kyrie out the door. Jacques Vaughn has been consistent. His post-game and pre-game press conferences way better than Steve Nash. And now he doesn't have to worry about, is Ime coming in? Or are they going to get rid of me for somebody else? He is the guy, and he's going to lead your Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah, I was like I said, when I got the news, I said this on my stream the other day. I was a little shocked by it. I thought the Nets kind of rushed to this extension, but I'm still rooting for Jacques Vaughn. Like everything he said, he was disrespected. And shout out to Chris Milhon. I was reading a Sports Illustrated article he posted. They overlooked Jacques Vaughn a ton of times. They hired Kenny Atkinson instead of Jacques Vaughn. Then they demoted Jacques Vaughn after the bubble. And then they put Steve Nash in front of Jacques Vaughn. So they overlooked Jacques Vaughn a lot, this organization. And I'm so happy for him that he finally got his turn to be a head coach. I just was a little surprised, like they went all in and made him the coach until, 2026, 2027? I was just a little surprised that they went all that far and just waited to see what he was going to do in these next 2 years when his contract was up. I was a little shocked.
Yeah, and I get that surprise. I mean, it's a long time. It's a long time to look ahead, especially with how things move both so slow and so fast for this Nets team, right? I mean, it feels like the Harden trade was yesterday, and now we don't have any of the big three, right? But at the same time, I mean, think about what the Nets really lack, and that's stability. And now we have stability in an owner who's going to stick around, and not for nothing, the Nets did not have that when they first moved to Brooklyn. We have a GM who's going to stick around. Did not have that when we moved to Brooklyn. And now we got a head coach, and people thought honestly, that people thought that it was going to be Kenny for the long term. Didn't end up being him. Steve Nash, garbage hire, as everybody knows. But now we have a guy who's part of the culture. I think I read today he's been in the Nets organization with certain stints in the middle and stuff over the course of 7 years. So he's a Nets lifer, not even just an NBA lifer. And it's really good to see that we'll have some measure of stability. And when you're retooling in the way that we are, I feel like you need that type of stability. And not for nothing, it's clear that the stars we had, did not want to play and did not respect Steve Nash. And if we are in the market to pick up, whether it's just one star or whatever, to make the Nets a contender again, you want players to want to play for your head coach. You don't want to have to move them to make some splash hire to get that player in. You don't want to have to make promises like that. And so having someone who's so clearly respected by everyone in the NBA, stars down to the bottom of the league, I think is only going to help the Nets going forward as well.
Yeah, I agree. I just thought, like AJ said, I thought it was a little rushed. Like you had him on contract for this year, and you had him on contract for next year. Could have waited out this year, had the playoffs. You have that, and then you go into next year, and then probably the playoffs as well. And then you give that, and then you reevaluate everything that offseason. But you know what? I'll take it. GV has shown a lot of positive flashes, and you gotta love, his answers. He knows what he's doing, right? At least we have that with a head coach. So I like the hire. Just thought it was a little rushed, but it's not something I'm losing sleep over. I like it.
In my opinion, I guess it was rushed because it didn't have to happen right now, but they are in a rush to get back to the Brooklyn way, the Brooklyn grit, and the key word here is culture. We'll show a screenshot later of Jacques Vaughn even using the word culture. Like that's all they talked about today. Culture, right? Culture. Honestly, when you remove the cancer, you get back to your culture. When you take out the toxicity, you can become pure again. And that starts with naming a head coach that is deserving of the title, that literally just exudes positive energy, is always smiling. Let's play a video from today that Matt Brooks posted with Jacques Vaughn. Let's see. Can I man, this video is too long to play.
If I squeeze one more in at the buzzer.
Come on, Matt.
All right, cool. So just based on my amateur eye, it looks like you guys have integrated some things that Phoenix ran, little screens at the elbows for McHale. You guys have run some stack pick and roll. Just curious if that has been an integration process, what that integration process has been like and how it's worked with, I guess, the new guys in your core group.
Yeah, so definitely integrated. I think where you see is the way we started. So, when Kay was here, we had that similar pin down. Nick would go get Kevin, but we started at a different angle. Just looking at some of the Phoenix stuff, and to get McHale a little bit more freedom, we moved it up to the elbow, and then we're kind of playing out of that for sure. So that'll be a part of us going forward, and we'll kind of grow from there a little bit. Really think Spencer, McHale, and Nick can have some more synergy and grow together, whether that is, ends up being double drag in the middle of the floor, whether there is some stack pick and roll out of that. We'll use CJ in that also because of his ability to shoot. So you'll start seeing us flare a little bit. So we're going to grow from there. Probably have 3 or 4 quintessential sets that you'll see us live out of. That elbow will be a piece of that. But yeah, watching some film and getting some input from McHale and CJ, that's definitely area we'll continue to grow in.
So this guy, man, what I'll say, and I'm going to pass it to Hudson and we'll go around the horn. This guy's a basketball guy. He watches film. He's going back and looking at what worked in Phoenix. He knows that now he's got to figure out how to get the most out of these 2 pieces. Hudson had a tweet talking about his job stability. And I believe he said something along the lines of you can expect to see him move differently because he's not looking over his shoulder. Now there's things that he can do knowing that I'm the man here for the next, 4 or 5 years, whatever it is, or 3-4 years, whatever it is. And we'll go into some more stuff about the rotations, Seth Curry, Cam Thomas, and Ben Simmons, but I'll let Hudson speak.
Yeah, he's not on a prove it deal anymore. And you're right. There was a year and half a year left on this deal, this current deal, and then plus another year after that. But at the end of the day, it's still a prove it deal. There was still news about Ime Udoka floating around, and he even referred to it today in his presser that he didn't ever really feel like he was looking over his shoulder, but it definitely is nice to have that added sense of security, right? And so when it comes to Cam Thomas, when it comes to making riskier plays in terms of developing youth. I think that's something that we're going to see a lot more of, because he doesn't need to get some sort of guaranteed results that he might have felt that he could have gotten from some more veteran players, rather than kind of rolling the dice on Cam, which is, it is a dice roll at this point, but it's one that we need to make. And then in terms of what we saw in that video, first off, Cam Johnson is CJ. No more Cam J bullshit.
Yeah, CJ.
CJ.
CJ,
I don't know. I think it was Nets Daily, and I'm on record as saying, not my favorite Nets account, I think they called him Cam J. Don't call him that. CJ.
Oh, no, it's terrible. Yeah.
CJ. And the other thing that didn't get mentioned in that was that he also was implementing sets from the Mavs, like Ramon Castro said in the chat, for Dinwiddie and Dorian Finney-Smith. And so he's really making an effort to integrate this team. And I don't know if we have any 2K players that listen to us, but I don't know if you've ever had like a big off season in 2K and you think you have this sick super team that's going to go 82-0, and then you like lose your first 2 games and you check your team chemistry and it's at like 38% or something like that. The Nets have to do work to make this team work. They are a completely new team, learning completely new sets, right? They are in a new culture, in a new city, in a new environment. And both the Nets and the players coming to the Nets have to kind of meet each other in the middle. And so, having a coach that is clearly trying to do what he can to make sure that his players are in as good of a position to succeed and is not like dogmatically, committed to one style of play like we kind of saw from Steve Nash, I think that's a good sign. And I think if you're looking at someone from a tactics perspective, Jacques Vaughn clearly has ideas about what he's going to do, but he's a winning first coach and he's trying to make winning moves rather than moves that fit with his, idea of what basketball should look like.
Yeah, I think, everything you said I agree with. And with Jacques Vaughn, I think it's just like a lot of people have been talking about the Cam Thomas rotation minutes. Why is it so inconsistent? The Claxton inconsistencies. And I think, like you said, I think it's going to take more than 20 games to kind of implement how it's all going to work. Personally, I would like to see how does he turn Spencer kind of more into a facilitating point guard to get people's shots better, instead of balance that between a Spencer being a scoring guard and being a point guard. That's going to be one of those questions. Cam Thomas minutes. How are you going to implement Cam when we need a bucket? We're crying for Cam Thomas at the end of the games, and we constantly don't see Jacques Vaughn put him in the right moments when we need a bucket, and it's just those type of questions that we're kind of trying to solve as Nets fans. But like you said, it might just take more time than Nets fans are they're impatient for,
Yeah, I agree. At least we have a coach, like I said, like someone mentioned, that he actually watches film, he knows what he's doing. But yeah, like AJ mentioned, some of the question marks are: what are you going to do with Cam Thomas? How are you going to implement him in the offense? How are you going to use the center position now? Because if Claxton is getting fouls like he did in Miami, how do you do you want to go? You said we might have to put in Dayron. We might have to fit out Utah.
Utah at the 5.
So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see. But now he really doesn't have to look over his shoulder at all. He can do what he wants, and there'll be no repercussions for whatever he does. He can do what he wants, and at the end of the day, we're obviously not in a championship title window, right now. So he can do whatever he wants, and we'll be all right with it. It's just what we have time, and I'm interested to see how it all goes. I'm happy for him.
We have time, but we also don't. Like, if you're a Nets fan and you want to see this team achieve this year, there's not a lot of time. But I do think that they are able to compete, that they have a chip on their shoulder, and that they're going to try to stay where they are. They're the 5th seed right now. My ultimate hope and goal for this season is for them to avoid the play-in and win one playoff game. And then we can literally sit back and say they did more than KD and Kyrie did in their last full season in Brooklyn, right? Because KD and Kyrie got swept out of the first round after winning the play-in game to go meet Boston. Okay. Jacques Vaughn met the media today. So let's run through some tweets from the Nets beat reporters. Christian Winfield writes, Jacques Vaughn says, filling the team's empty roster spot is not a priority entering the second half of the season. Deadline to add a free agent eligible for playoff minutes is March 1st. Now, that kind of lends itself to what I just said. Are these guys not going for it this year? You have an empty roster spot, or is it smoke and mirrors? Or maybe there's something that might happen. What do you guys think about that?
I was gonna say, is Serge Ibaka still on the market for the buyout? I'm not sure.
I think Serge was around I know we were talking about Will Barton a couple episodes
Yeah,
ago.
Will Barton just got on the buyout market, but personally, I don't think Sean Marks is gonna.
Alex says he is. Serge Ibaka is still available. Didn't
on the
Kevin
market?
Love
Alright.
just get
He
Yeah.
did, but he's going to Miami.
He's going to
with
Miami.
the Heat?
Yeah, he's going to Miami. I mean, the name I've been seeing circulated is Tony Bradley. He kind of fills that backup center role. Obviously, he's a longer guy. He's younger, and I know the Nets like to pick up younger guys rather than, old veterans with heart problems that decide to come back for championship runs. But at the end of the day, I think the odds of us adding someone to fill that roster spot are pretty low. If I had to put.
I think
my
the hard
money on
part
it.
is like most of these guys that get bought out in the NBA, they're gonna want to go to like championship contending teams already, and then we're kind of in a weird space right now, so we're not gonna
Yeah.
get like the best on the buyout market.
Although,
But
I mean,
in
if
the
there
Hud-
is
yeah.
if there is someone that's looking to prove it, though, especially if they're a big, they'll probably get more of an extended, run with the Nets than they would on a championship contender. Which, I mean, if they're looking at their next contract, that could provide some value for the Nets as a potential landing spot.
Yeah, and you mentioned Tony Bradley, right? I don't think Tony Bradley is going to be a guy where he can demand to go to a team where he's going to need to go on a championship team. He's going to be a guy who still needs to kind of prove it a little. And you know what? We need a backup center. So I think Tony Bradley is worth going after. Serge Ibaka, I mean, it doesn't matter. I don't hate it, but he's another guy who might be looking for a championship. But at the end of the day, we're still a playoff team, and he can still contribute a little bit if he wants to come over here.
All right. Well, let's go to the next tweet from Brian Lewis talking about Seth Curry's role and the 10-man rotation. There it is. It's small, but I'll read it. Jacques Vaughn said that the Nets will open with a 10-man rotation, but cut back to 9 closer to playoffs. I think we already heard that that's the plan, to go closer to 8 or 9. Seth Curry will be in the rotation. He adds that he'll have to manage Nick Claxton's minutes, either with Day'Ron Sharpe or even Yuta Watanabe. We've already spoken on that. And I don't know if we have another – I don't know if we have the other tweet, but they mentioned Seth being the backup point guard and ball handling. Hold your thoughts. Let's go to the Talkin' Nets tweet where I quote tweeted Alex Shifter's tweet. Man, the best of – you've heard this in sports. It's a cliche, but it is true. And shit, do we need it? Especially after, what we just saw with our player empowerment diva movement where these guys couldn't even get on the court together. I said availability is the best ability. These are the new Nets. When you look at a guy like Mikal Bridges, he had a streak of 365 games played in this NBA where guys are load managing and sitting out. He always wants to be on the floor. So Jacques Vaughn came out there and said today that the Nets have a clean bill of health as of now going into Friday's game against Chicago. Nothing came up during the All-Star break. Not even Ben Simmons. We'll hold on the Ben Simmons talk. That's coming. I definitely, got some things to say on Ben 10. Let's now tap into what Jacques had to say about Cam Thomas, because I feel a couple episodes ago we were like, what's the deal? Cam made history. So Jacques Vaughn talking about managing Cam Thomas's role moving forward. He said there's 3 games of 40 points that were awesome. I'm super happy for him. They can never take that away from him. He's in the record books. But at the same time, we lost 2 of those games. So the ultimate goal is to create a team and an atmosphere where everyone can be a participant, and we're going to utilize and maximize everyone's talents. What I think Cam can be is a bona fide, efficient, and productive scorer for us when asked upon. He's a guy that can shot create, but we don't anticipate him playing 40 minutes like he did in those games. The big part of our whole group is we have depth. So why not lean into that? He was extremely efficient last game for us, and I think that's an area that he can repeat over and over again and be asked upon to do that without it having a negative impact on the team overall, because at the end of the day, it's about the entire group, and I'm going to continue to push that culture more than anything else. Go ahead, guys. I'll have the last word on this one.
Yeah, I can lead. I'll hand it to AJ or Rach, whoever wants to take it next. I think this is a good and a fair response, honestly. Cam Thomas put up those 40-point games, and he put up, I think it was a 36-point game against the Pacers earlier this season in 40 minutes a night, right? That's what he did to put up those games. And at the end of the day, Nets fans are completely enamored with him, and they should be. He is a bona fide scorer. No one, not even, honestly, over that 3-game stretch, No one of the big three ever put together a 3-game stretch quite like that. Kevin Durant maybe against the Bucks, but it was unreal. The issue with Cam Thomas is the same reason why he's very good is his shot is always open because he jumps about 7 feet off the ground every time he shoots the ball. That step back, his layups, he always makes space by jumping a mile off the ground. And the reason we lost those games is that same reason. He is gassed. If he's playing 40 minutes and he's taking 30 shots a night, he is going to be gassed because he is going to be spending all night trying to jump out the gym, trying to get open for his shots. And when he can't hit those jumps, he doesn't hit the shots, right? When you look at Cam Thomas's stats, you see a player who is super underused when he is played and undervalued, and he doesn't provide really much for the Nets when he's played less than 20 minutes a game. But when you play him 35 minutes or more, you run into a situation where you have a Cam Thomas who's hot and is demanding the ball, but does not have the energy because he doesn't have the scoring efficiency to be able to hit those shots late in games. And so I think I'm just going to say that, what we've been saying over the last couple podcasts, which is play Cam Thomas 25 minutes a night. Sorry, I think Keith, can you hear me? I don't think I can hear Keith.
You good, Keith? Y'all hear me?
I can hear you.
All right, okay.
Yeah,
I'll just jump in.
All right.
Wait,
no one can hear Keith. Anyways, play Cam Thomas 25 minutes a night. Stats say that's the best thing for him to do.
Yeah, I think I agree. Honestly, I think you don't have to play him 35, 40 minutes. We're not even in a position to do that. We were in a position to do that when he was getting that time because, well, we had nobody. We hadn't made our trades yet. Everything was so up in the air. Now you're at a point where you can either bring him off the bench or you can start him. I don't care, but just play him around 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and it works out like that. I think that's how it should go.
Oh, we lost Keith.
Yeah, I'll take the sticks for now.
Right.
AJ, you're up.
Yeah, so with like Rage was saying with Cam Thomas, I just want him to, like you said, play him over that 20 plus, 25 plus minutes and play him when we need him. Because there's times we have so much wing defenders now. We're a ton of wing defenders, a ton of 3-and-D wings. There's going to be moments in games where the offense is just stale and you're going to need Cam. You're going to need to, which I hope Jacques Vaughn does, run some plays for Cam, run some plays for Mikhail, get our guys going. The guys that can create their own shots and score, you got to get them going. Create plays for them. Get them to their spots.
Yeah. And the Nets are in an interesting position, right? Because they have Spencer Dinwiddie, who is a proven, not star, but good 20-point-a-game point guard scorer on a good team, right? You have Mikal Bridges, who we think can be an all-star, right, with that Kawhi Leonard mold. You have Cam Thomas, who's 21, but has shown that he has all the upside potential in the world. If you're looking at, the Nets and you have to, let's say, prioritize 2 players to keep on the team and you have to move some other ones to make a trade, right, to get that, additional all-star on the team to take the Nets from, good playoff team to contender. Who do you move, right? Because you have a ton of players, and we've seen this with Mikal Bridges in the 4 first-round picks that have a ton of value that can be added to a trade to make that work. I mean, there's 1,000,001 different trades that Nets fans have talked about, but is there any one of those players that you feel the Nets would probably be the most likely to move to bring someone else on the team?
Oof, that's tough. I mean,
I know it's tough. I didn't want to answer it. That's why I asked you.
If I had to choose, like I said, I'll probably go with DFS because you think of our core 4. I think the core would be Cam, Clax, Mikhail, and then CJ. So it's like those guys are kind of like, to me, those are the core. DFS is kind of on that outside looking in, and I think if he would be on the table for me. I don't know, Rage, how you feel about?
Yeah, I agree with that. It's just DFS would be in a better situation where he has the number 1 option. He's able to just sit in the corner, honestly. So it's going to be, I think.
And of course, the Joe Harris and the Seth Curry, and I mean, we want to keep. Are we going to keep Joe? That's the thing. Are we going to keep Joe, or is Joe's going to come?
Not on that contract.
Yeah,
not on that contract.
You got to pay CJ. He's an RFA. You got to pay CJ.
Especially because CJ was, when he was with the Suns, CJ asked for the same contract that Joe Harris has now. Almost actually to the number. It was almost exactly the same. 4 years, $82 million, right? So that's a real similar deal. And I think the Nets would be happy to get that out if you can move Joe Harris off the books. But I think we might have Keith McPherson back.
Oh, we got him back.
We might got him
back.
It's possible.
He's looking around all confused again.
My internet dropped. I'm sitting here. I was like, wait, did we lose the show? I'm like, no, it's just me. But nah,
too,
let's
bro.
see where we're at.
We were talking about the camp situation with Jacques Vaughn and stuff
I
like
say
that.
we move on because we're running close on time. Let's talk Ben Simmons. Let's go to that screenshot from Doc Lou Allen. I almost thought that this was a Twitter blue boy. I almost was like, this motherfucker paid for Twitter.
So he works for the NBA.
Yeah, he works for the NBA. He's a writer for the NBA. Yeah.
I thought he was trolling. So he says Jacques Vaughn and the Brooklyn Nets agreed to a multi-year contract extension. Ben Simmons will be gone this summer. Expect him to quietly request a trade, similar to what Kevin Durant did. Do not compare it to Kevin Durant. Outside looking in, will blame Simmons, but he wasn't coached right in Brooklyn. Play the next one. Ben Simmons been treated worse in Brooklyn than he was in Philadelphia. They never let him lead nor put him in a position to succeed. Putting him at center was so disrespectful. The Nets team now would be great if you start him at point guard. He's the only true point guard on the team. Your thoughts, fellas?
Is he Australian? Is he?
That's Ben's burner.
Did he just wake up from the
Venmo'd
cryo
him
sleep in
5
2018?
racks? He was like,
he was
bro,
trolling. That's
something
supposed to
good.
be he was trolling. He had to be trolling, bro. He had to be.
Does he not watch the games? Most of the time when Ben Simmons is on the court, he brings the ball up, and what does he do? Gives the ball to Royce O'Neal to let him cook. Come on, I don't get the point of. I don't get any of that when we literally had to put him at center because the point guard stuff wasn't working. He brought the ball up and sometimes pushed it, but rarely. I mean, if he's handing the ball off to Royce O'Neal and sitting there, I gotta say, it's not a recipe for success.
It's tough because his contract is he's getting paid so much, and then if we're gonna trade him in the offseason, we're gonna have to attach a whole bunch of stuff with it, a whole bunch of picks. That might not be the right move. So it's like, was Sean Marks planning? Was he like planning on just holding Ben until he comes back to form? Because I guess when we're rebuilding or retooling, whatever we're doing, is he just gonna hold on to Ben and make sure, like, I don't know, like what's the process with Ben?
It's just funny to me how he makes $15 million more than the second highest paid guy on the team when he's with the way he's playing, he shouldn't even be in the rotation. I mean, it's clear cut.
No, I mean the contract has the Nets held hostage, right? At this point, you can't move him without paying to move him, and the fact that NBA employee said that playing him at center was disrespectful. I feel like you got to earn respect. I don't know if that's just a personal opinion, but I feel like you have to earn respect to be able to be disrespected. And he just, 4-4-4 in 20 minutes really just is not enough. It's not enough.
You can't score 0 points against the Celtics, Pistons, and Magic and expect to be respected.
Tell me you don't watch the Nets without telling me you don't watch the Nets. Like, bro, the thing is, I'm most mad at Josiah, Sean Marks for taking Ben Simmons. Like, for actually, like, I would have said, Harden, we don't care, bro. If you want to sit out, if you want to be mad, you want to quit in the game, fine. But we're not taking on the headache that is Ben Simmons. I literally was on air on WFAN on Carton and Roberts. They pulled me in when the first rumblings went on. And I wasn't talking about trading Harden. I was like, no, there's a reason that they don't want Ben Simmons. There's a reason that these fans hate him. He's a baby. He's a head case. He's not going to be able to play here. And here we are. He's a max contract guy. You've already said, or you've already heard me say, I've said this before, that I think Kyrie had an issue with Ben Simmons because he's leading the team. He's showing up. Ben Simmons misses 5 games during that stretch where he could have helped the team somehow, we think. And Kyrie's like, this guy's on a max contract. You brought him here. He gets to go out at night with models. He gets to sit on the sideline, Gucci, Fendi, Louis, Prada. And you won't extend me? All right, I'm out. This is a mess. So with Ben Simmons, let's move on to the next one with Bradley Beal. I know you guys saw this tweet. In 2021 playoffs, Bradley Beal intentionally fouled Ben Simmons, and they exchanged words. Simmons said, I'm tired of you mother effers fouling me on purpose, man. I'm going to step up here and knock these two down. 5,000 says I will. Beal says, you want to make it 20? Simmons bricked the first free throw. Like, I 100% believe that. I don't care who put it out there. That sounds like a real story. That sounds like a Ben Simmons story.
Yeah, never heard of Steve B. Hoop, but I believe it.
It's just a delusion. Like, Ben, I don't know how Ben has like some type of delusional confidence he has. It's like, bro, you talk all this stuff in the press conferences and stuff like that, but like you get to the court and it's a whole different story.
Yeah,
So it's
your
like,
energy
how you
different. Why your energy
yeah,
so
why
different?
your energy keep the same energy? Like, talk how you talk outside the court and when you're on the bench.
I mean, it feels like he's overcompensating, right?
yeah.
He's
He has,
insecure.
he has
He's
an arrogance,
overcompensating.
and at least before in Philly, like before, he actually had something to show for it when he actually like went to the rim and had a pair of balls. But it's different now. He scores 4 points. So,
Well, we've got good news, folks. The Ben Simmons saga continues, and he's locked in for the second half. I was scrolling through Instagram, and he's gone dark. LeBron mode. Remember earlier in this season when we thought Kyrie was going dark? He was just suspended because Mark Zuckerberg was like, bro, you're posting too much cryptic shit. Ben Simmons goes dark because he's ready to have the best second half of his career. He's locking in. No more Instagram models for me. No
Ben is
more
locked in.
designer gear for me. No more distractions. Ben Simmons is going to turn back into – I'm joking. I'm completely joking and kidding. This guy – I don't know why.
Imagine he turns up, bro. Imagine like the next game he has like 25
No.
points.
I mean, I feel like to me the only compelling narrative at this point to talk about with Ben Simmons is the fact that there's Nets fans who say that we're not allowed to hate on him because he's a Nets player. And I won't say who it was, Nets Daily, but that's just an interesting take to me. That's just such an interesting take to me.
Brooklyn Netcast came out there. I don't know who it was out of the three of them. And they were like really rooting for Ben Simmons. Like, bruh, at this point, we're all really rooting for Ben Simmons. We're rooting for the Nets, but he consistently gets on the court and fucks up the game. Like, it's counterproductive.
I'm at this point where I'm praying for Ben Simmons.
Shortening the rotations, right? He's the first guy that I'd be like, yeah, I have no use for you. But Hudson alluded to the fact that we believe it's coming down from the top. Joe Tsai's like, wait, we're paying this guy $34 million. Sean Marks, I don't know if they got something with the Australian New Zealand connection, but I feel like they're trying to play him because there's this theory that the more he plays, the more he'll remember. Like the more he'll return to form and figure out who he once was. And I'm not going for it. I'm not feeling it. Let's move on from the Ben Simmons talk and let's show the remaining schedule coming up. This is important, folks. Brandon Batts is in the chat. He said, are you going to talk remaining schedule? Hell yeah, because it's a gauntlet. It's a tough road ahead. And the Nets face 16 playoff/play-in teams in the final 24 games of the regular season. So not pictured is Friday's game coming back against the Bulls. We beat the Bulls on February 9th, if you remember. I was at that game. I remember sitting next to Evan Roberts in the fourth quarter. I thought King of the Fourth, DeMar DeRozan, was going to close us out. I thought Zach LaVine was going to close us out. And the Nets kept playing defense and making shots, and they won that game without KD, without Kyrie. It was like the signal of the new era. So they got to go face the Hawks. Then they host the Milwaukee Bucks. And then Wednesday, March 1st, we go back to the Garden. I need that one. If you're not going to beat the Bucks and it's a second half of a back-to-back, you got to go play the Knicks. Man, rest some people against the Bucks and be ready to go in the Garden. They got to go to TD Garden 2 days after that and deal with Tatum and Jaylen Brown and those boys. We're about to be 11 straight losses against the Celtics coming up. And obviously you guys can see the rest of the games, but the Bucks pop right back up. Then you got to deal with Jokic and them boys in Denver twice in a matter of a week. You got to face the Nuggets in Denver and then back in Brooklyn. Then you got to deal with the Cavs in a little back-to-back home and home series. It's not going to be sweet. These guys got to figure it out. Show the last one to end the season. To end the season, it gets a little bit better, we think, but who knows? You got the Rockets mixed in there, the Pistons mixed in there, the Magic. I don't know. It's going to be tough to stay in that fifth place position. But what are you guys feeling about the Nets, how they'll compete against these top teams, and how they'll close out this season that got completely obliterated by ego and selfishness? And now we're picking up the pieces, and they're going to do their best. We are playoffs. Brooklyn goes to the playoffs. We're going to be in the play-in, but I would like to see them be a 6th seed, 5th seed, but it's going to be tough sledding.
I'm just praying that at least we'll go 500 off the rest of these games. It's like I said, I think I posted this a little bit earlier. We have the 7th toughest schedule in the NBA right now, so it's not going to be easy. But if we can just lock in and band together, I think we can come out of this 500. Hopefully, we come out of this 500. But that's just me.
Yeah, I have faith, and we have enough tools to actually go 500. You obviously the defensive part, and it'll be interesting to see because we just went past a 45-point game from Mikal Bridges. We've seen the likes of Spencer. We've seen not Spence, but we've seen who is it? We've seen Cam.
Yeah.
We've seen Cam, and we've seen Mikal. So you can go through those two guys and see what they can become. We all know that Mikal has potential to really get better and score more points and see. And you know what? In these remaining games, we'll be able to see what kind of a role Mikal will play for us because scoring 45 on crazy efficiency is pretty good. So I'm just interested to see. I think we have what it takes to at least go 500, but I'm not.
Yeah, and I feel like for me, and I think Nets fans should do this generally, I'm taking a bit of a longer look at what we can do at the end of this season, right? Obviously, we're not building for a championship this season. If that's every team's goal every time they start an NBA season to win a championship, Nets aren't doing that this season, obviously. So we got to look at how the Nets build for the future, right? And it's not tank season. We shouldn't only play our young kids. We should still, obviously, we're going to go out there and try and win games. But when you go through a gauntlet like the Nets are about to go through, and I know AJ said the 7th hardest schedule in the NBA. Earlier, I saw that it was the remaining schedule was the hardest stretch in the NBA or something like that. But going to be a tough sledding, going forward for a little while. You either fall apart or you come out of that on the other side stronger. And coming out stronger might mean going 500, might mean even going a game or two below 500. But at the end of the day, right, the Nets clearly have invested into a lot of pieces that are going to be around for a while. I don't think Brooklyn Bridges is going anywhere. I think he's Sean Marks' guy through and through. They have invested in these pieces and giving them the chance to run and the chance to cook. Like if you think about someone like Miles Bridges, he has never been the number one option. Not once, not ever. All those games he's played, he's been number 2 or 3 or 4. And now he really gets a chance to do that. And he gets a chance to settle into a role and understand a system and be, frankly, the star of this Nets team. He has his own chant with the brigade. He gets the arena excited. That is the kind of treatment that he never had in Phoenix. And I know he loved it there, right? But at the end of the day, right, you have to think about it. That's got to be a big confidence boost. And being the number one option and having that faith put in you moving forward, that's got to be huge for a guy like that. And I think we're going to see a lot of these players take advantage of this opportunity because we got rid of the players who aren't down for that, who aren't down for the, MCL sprain. Now I'm going to get traded, not enough superstar is going to get traded, all that stuff. Did I say Miles Bridges? Fuck. That's so bad. I did that on Twitter the other day.
Miles Bridges say he's coming back though, didn't he? Didn't he say something recently? He's coming back.
Coming back from where? Prison?
Y'all think I'm a demon shooting at these Twitter trolls? Nah, that boy is out there being a menace.
And he raps too.
Yeah, some of his bars are right.
I feel like I've heard people talk about him being pretty good, but now he's
I need some more bars, yo. I need some more bars on
I know,
WFAN, man.
Can't get no more free, Randy. I done gave him too many freestyles. Somebody need to pay me. They need to pay me. I'll write a verse. All right. Happy birthday to the legend, Dr. J. Way before all of our time, but he's a Net and one of the best Nets ever. Julius Erving. It is his birthday today.
More life.
And last but not least, I wanted to end with a review. No voicemails. No, I didn't ask for any voicemails because there's 4 of us talking, but here is a review. We did ask for reviews and you sent one. Shout out to Connor. Maybe is that the same Connor in the chat? I don't know if that's the same Connor in the chat from earlier that was asking me about Connor Monahan. That's a different one. Connor Monahan assumes that I have a stash of Talkin Nets John Boy Media merch laying around. No, I'm wearing all of the Talkin Nets merch that I have. I don't have extra. And it was never sourced like that. It was always made to order. And there was never a surplus or a store with that stuff.
He's been rocking with us for a while though, so I'll give him some
I appreciate. I appreciate him rocking with us. Alex, put that shit back up. I didn't even read it, bro. What's going on with you? All right, best Nets podcast. Connor writes in 5 stars. Always got the newest episode on my way to work or class. Each one of these 3 guys brings something different to the show. Keith with his New Jersey Nets fanalist, Hudson with his younger perspective, and Robin with his media journalist experience. It's a great mix and balance between the 3 and leads to a very fun and entertaining podcast. Excited for what's to come from these three. Let's go Nets. Let's go Nets. Brooklyn. That's not the end of the show. He wrote that in his review, but it is the end of the show. Shout out to everybody that pulled up in the chat. Yo, I see Chubbs in the chat. What up, gang? Nets Kingdom, talking Nets Kingdom, crossover pod, passing the time on the All-Star break. Can't thank AJ enough, Rage enough for joining us. Love what you guys do. I'll let you guys get the final words in before we close out.
Yeah, appreciate you guys, man. Again, for I'm a big fan of the Talking Nets, and I'm a supporter, man. I love what Keith does. You know, I'm gonna see him at the games. You know what it is. And follow us on Instagram, Nets Kingdom, all our Twitters, YouTube. Subscribe, Nets Kingdom.
Yeah, appreciate all y'all. It was fun coming on here. Nice talking to the more Nets fans. You know, it's nice. It's nice talking to the real Nets fans who are still sticking around even after the 7-11 era. You know what? It's Brooklyn forever.
Shout out my boy Chubbs. What's good, Chubbs?
Hudson, anything else?
Go give Nets Kingdom a follow. Thanks for coming on,
Yeah.
guys. It was a really good time.
Appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you.
Okay, we're back on the floor in Chicago Friday. New Nets, new era. My guy Doug Barrett called the clean sweep, right? That was the clean sweep when we got KD, Kyrie, and DeAndre Jordan. That was the first sign that this wasn't going to work. So we're going from the clean sweep to the clean slate. It's refreshing. It's a new day, and our Nets world has been built. The evidence is all of the Nets creators and fans and community that we have now through this last era, this mini era of 7-11 and the big three. I'm excited for what's to come. Let's go Nets. Let's go Nets. Brooklyn.